back to Project Infinite. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Tyler.
Today's subject, we're going to be talking about the feminine and the masculine energies that make up the human being. We're basically going to be talking about the two-spirited people, what we identify them as, what Native American cultures would identify them as. We're just going to go into detail our take, our perception on some of the ideas surrounding the Earth, because it seems right now, Earth, our nation seems to be in a bit of an identity struggle right now, and we just want to kind of give and put in our 2 cents about it, and what can possibly give advice, what can potentially help people give a better understanding of what it is they're going through, rather than going in an endless cycle of constantly fighting with each other and arguments and whatnot. We just want to, we're just gonna go off the top here. We're gonna talk, and we'll just see where this takes us.
Yeah, the identity struggle is kind of it's actually been probably going on for, honestly, probably all of our recorded history. And to be honest, the whole identity crisis, a man trying to figure out who it is, which way we want to go. But it, as of recently, I'd say within the past, like, maybe as long as we've been alive, I'd say it definitely is taken on a certain form, and especially in the last few years, it's certain aspects are made more known, I'd say. But I did write some stuff down here that I wanted to just read for you guys. Do you want me to, should I go into that right now, or do you want to kind of riff for a little bit?
Yeah, we could riff for a little bit. I think, like you said in the beginning, mankind has kind of struggled with their identity for some time now, since, I think with recorded history, there's always been power struggles between the patriarchy and the matriarchy. At one point, believe it or not, women used to rule the planet during a matriarchy period. And at that time, it was said that women ruled the planet, right? And they had total control over everything, and males were specifically seen as they were just kind of used for sex. They were just used for reproducing.
This is ancient history.
Yeah, no, this isn't
an ancient time. Like there's not a whole lot. Not a whole lot of things to find this.
Yeah, you're not gonna open up a history book and find this anywhere. This is definitely something that you have to do your own searching into.
I'd say probably a good example of this, to see what it kind of looks like. If you watch if you've seen the movie Wonder Woman, what's her name? Wonder Woman, where she comes from a land that is completely, it's hidden on an island away from mankind. And it's an island basically it's nothing but women.
It's a matriarchy.
Yeah, it's if you I'd say like that's like a memory. I think that's a memory of a time like that.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. So it was said that males were specifically just used for reproduction, and there came a time where I guess you could say like I think males over time, they just kind of became sexually frustrated. They became sexually suppressed, right? And they were kind of frustration started to arise, and these were, I guess you could say, the least desirable men that started to kind of form these packs and stuff. And they kind of, from what I've gathered about it, they formed alliances with other men, and the other less desirable men, and they kind of came together and they came up with this ideology that if there's a God, if there's good, there has to be evil, right? So they kind of created this whole ancient myth, and this could be where this whole this concept of the devil comes from. because it was said that during this time they created an idea. They said that, well, if there's good, then there has to be evil, and if there's, if there's a God, then there has to be a devil, and then we'll just use the devil as an idea. And so they kind of they created this whole mythology around this demon, this monster, and they gave it a name, they gave it a figure, they kind of built their ideas around it, and they used that against the women at the time. And they said, well, if there's a good, then there's a bad, and what if they're just doing everything wrong? Like, we can step in and we can change things. So I guess at that point in time, men started to use the devil as their as a symbology, as a way to create power, to start to strike fear into the women at the time.
And not just the women either, but also strike fear into the hearts of any person.
Yeah. At the end of the day, that's kind of what the idea around Satan and the devil itself kind of is. It's just, it's more so, the devil was created. It is not a creator, to put it in plain words. It was created by someone, somewhere, at some place, in some point in time. It was created, the idea around it, and it was used to control, as pretty much a controlling tactic, or as a way to rise up against the matriarchy at the time. And so time passes, and then the patriarchy slowly takes over, and that's whenever man itself kind of just took over. Yeah. So I mean, that's just a little history that you're probably never you'll never learn about if you just look on the internet. It's one of those things that you're gonna have to do your own research into it. It's probably not recorded anywhere. It's just information that we were kind of given over time. It just kind of gives you, and it does kind of make sense, just why we have so many concepts of the devil, and why we have so much, why we're so at war with each other. It's more so, everyone thinks that there has to be, everyone thinks that the woman has to be the stay-at-home mother and the father has to be the at-work man, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like that. They're both counterparts to one another. We're the alpha and the omega to one another. We're the up and the down. We're the left and the right. We're just opposites of one another. That's what our roles are, to be opposites of one another. And that doesn't mean that you feud with your opposite. That's not what it's meant by that.
Yeah, the kind of the opposites. You need two. How do I want to say this? You need like two not opposing, but yeah, I suppose two opposites to be able to create, to be able to bring a creation into existence, create life. You need, it takes two, and you need those opposite. What's a good word? Counterparts, maybe.
Yeah, counterparts.
Yeah, counterparts.
Relative.
Yeah.
Relative being to one another.
Yeah.
It's all the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you seem like you were on a pretty good roll right there. If you want, I don't know if you wanted to keep on.
No, it's just
going into
for me. That's just a fun little. I mean, not fun, but it's just one of those things that I slowly learned over time, and it gives you a better understanding of why there's so much confusion. It's the battle of the sexes. There's always going to be the argument. Well, there doesn't have to be. There can be a major change in time at some point where we stop arguing about who needs to work the harder labor jobs and who needs to stay home and do the dishes and stuff. It doesn't always have to be like that. I think one of the solutions is just to see somebody as your equal rather than you being above something. You can't see yourself as superior just because you're a little bit stronger because you're a man, because at the end of the day, a woman embodies she embodies the creation. She's able to create life. She's able to carry life. And I obviously, growing up in a Native American culture, that's always something that's constantly told to you at the end of the day, that a woman is sacred. She's
Mm-hmm.
holy. You know, she's able to create life, and it goes the same with men. Women can't do it without men.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's not like it's a one-way street. It's not just like one of those things where you can just magically get pregnant. You know, it's a two-way street.
Yeah. Women are tasked with the forming of that life. The their bodies are capable of carrying life and nurturing life, because they nurture, you know, a baby within their womb. Women are they're naturally more nurturing than men are.
Yeah.
They just have that built-in ability. Why they have it open, like they have those doors are completely open for the most part. I would say more than a man's. It's because they know what it is to nurture life. So that is a part of their role within this life, within all of life. It's just the way, it's a natural way of life. It's just what it is. They're just more nurturing, and yeah.
Well, the um, it's obviously something that should never be overlooked. You know, if you have a person in your life and they, you know, your significant other is pregnant, you should always definitely put in the help, because it's not easy to carry that life. You're always the female, the woman. She's always going to go through some type of a struggle, whether it's a sickness, morning sickness, you know, carrying that extra weight. Her heart has to work twice as hard to support that other life form. She has
Mm-hmm.
to make sure she's eating clean. You have to make sure you're contributing in ways like that. And a lot of people, they don't think about those things. You know, they're not fully understanding that a woman has to literally give bits and parts of herself to support this being created in her belly.
Mm-hmm.
And some people completely overlook that. You know, I get it. At the end of the day, you may be the man, and you may be waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you may be working 12 to 14 hours, but obviously there's going to be men out there with morals and principles that fully understand that you know, it's probably your job and your duty to help sustain that life, you know, and to help nurture that life. And the only thing you can really do as a man really is be there. Be there as some type of support. That's not necessarily the case for everyone, you know, because sometimes partners, they split up, you know. I'm not going to say that's unfortunate, because obviously life has different plans for you whenever things do go that way.
Mm-hmm.
But just know that you're always honored, you know, no matter what. At the end of the day, no one can necessarily judge you for whatever life you choose. There was a time, like I said in the beginning, the two-spirited people, what that means. So for you viewers that don't necessarily understand some Native American culture, is they you know, whether it be the Algonquin, the Iroquois, the Hopi, the, you know, just whatever tribe, they understood, they saw the two-spirited people as, they held them really high on a spiritual hierarchy. They were saw as they were just saw as, I'm not going to say superior, but they held a holy part within the tribe, because they were able to take the divine feminine and the masculine and blend those two energies together and pretty much take on the role of two people. So it wasn't just like a man was just a warrior. He was able to nurture and do the things that a female was able to do,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in terms of taking care of something. But they also presented it in their features. Obviously, like, you know what we're talking about when we say, you know, if you have more feminine features, you know, you probably take a little bit more care of yourself the way a female would take care of herself. You know, your presentation is a little bit different. But even the two-spirited people in the early days, they were still warriors themselves too. They didn't stay home, and they didn't just, you know, pick berries and sew and, you know, create clothing. They were out, and they were partaking in, you know, in war parties themselves too, and they were saw as spiritual protection too at one point. It's not like they didn't. They had a major role, and they were seen as conduits between the physical and the metaphysical world. They were saw as beings that were almost at a completely perfect balance. And now, obviously, modern day, modern day people that have this blending of masculine and feminine energy, they're not necessarily they're we don't exactly see it that way because a lack of understanding in terms of spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of the part that we're missing. We're missing the metaphysical aspect in almost anything that we do in this day and age. But that's one of the major issues I think that we kind of that we're missing. That's one of the key notes that we're missing in the picture, you know. Everything is there, all the colors there, obviously, but it's just, you know, we need to add a little bit more detail into it to get a better picture and a better understanding. And we're not understanding the misunderstood.
Yeah, that's what I was just I was just thinking about. I was just thinking about that. As of right now, humanity is there. We're basically scratching the surface of something deep. Um, and a lot of, but when you don't know what you're even reaching for, you're kind of prone to bring in a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of misinterpretation, uh, while misidentifying things. You're trying to, you know, when you don't fully understand what it is, you bring all sorts of imbalances and
Confusion, almost.
confusion within, just within, well, any almost anything that everything about life.
Yeah, there's always there's whenever you say bringing in misinterpretations and stuff like that, it's like you're taking in you're somebody's trying to throw you like a rope because you're drowning, but you're just as the people that are feeding you the information, they're handing you ropes that are broken. And you're constantly taking that. And every time you take the rope breaks off. And then you're like, well, then that's a piece of information that you're taking in. And then you take this piece of information, and then you take this rope that somebody threw, then you take this rope, and then you're flooded with all these
Literally flooded.
Yeah, you're flooded with all these misconstrued ideas about what you are, or what you should be, or who you are, or who you think you are, and stuff. And it doesn't have to be that hard to understand. It doesn't have to be that complex to truly understand man's identity or woman's identity. And I'm not just saying, I'll just say human's identity, just
Yeah.
to make things a little bit more clear. It doesn't have to be hard to understand the human identity. All you have to do is just feel and do.
For right now, I'm gonna just read what I have written down here, guys. So just bear with me. Just to give a little note of, just to give a little kind of note of the direction I'm going into this. If you're a part of social media, you definitely see all sorts of arguments that are specifically around, around gender identity, all those things. You see these arguments, and they play out pretty much all over the place. Especially it was pretty huge last year. It's probably going to be pretty big this year. But it's been a thing for, like I said, a very long time. But so I'm just gonna go right into it. So from here on out, I'm going to read what I wrote. When I think of all these arguments, there being more than two genders, the spectrum, there being no genders, those being social constructs, there being no male and female, and that being a social construct, I see the arguments of people wanting to claim who they are on the inside, identity and the struggles of identity and one's place in the world, specifically that of gender identity. The argument that gender is only something that is assigned to you at birth. Why does it have to be male and female? Because one has a penis, they are a male. Who came up with this society? That one had a vagina, that they are female. Who came up with this society? These are a lot of arguments that you just see. I think it's all being a spiritual metaphor to embracing all of yourself. This whole thing is essentially man, woman's attempt to express what they are feeling on the inside. But instead of looking even deeper, they only reach the surface level of these feelings, and they in turn express things at a surface level. A woman's emotional body is naturally more wide open than a man's. In my opinion, this is because they have a built in connection, a literal doorway or portal that connects the physical realm and the spirit realm, where all things are seen and felt. Women have a natural, stronger connection to the phases of the moon. Their cycles often mirror the cycles of the moon. All living things have these connections, but the female aspects of life have their channels more open naturally. This is on purpose. Women are naturally more nurturing than men. This isn't always true because men can be just as or more nurturing, but in most cases, women have that ability naturally. It's natural to them because they know what it is to feel and to feel deeply. So when another is feeling something, the female understands this deeply and they know what to do. It's in their DNA. They don't have to think about it. A man, if they are in touch with the feminine, can express these same gifts as well. A man is naturally built in ways of getting things done. They are naturally stronger, so it is natural for them to be able to get tasks done or get what needs to be done. They are naturally the ones you look to when protection needs to be had. If you have a family and you hear a noise in the middle of the night, it is a natural tendency for a male to go look and see if there's an intruder. The family looks to you for protection. This is natural. Nobody has to think about it. When it's all said and done, the women will come in and nurture the nerves of everyone. Because women are naturally more connected to the essence of life, they are usually tasked with matters of the home as well. If you look at society, women are usually the ones that get the final word on where you build a home or when it comes to buying a specific home or things of that nature. If the woman feels like it's the right fit, then you can create a happier home. They feel it out more than men do. To men, they'll build a home almost anywhere. When the right spot is picked out, men are naturally tasked with building the road and the way to the home, and the women are naturally tasked with turning it into a home. It's all just a natural tendency of life. You hear things like the two gender expressions being masculine and feminine, the two gender identity being male and female. You hear about sex being assigned at birth. Let's expand a little bit here and let's widen our perspective on the possibility of what life can be. What if it were true that it is actually you that chooses everything about your life or what is going to be your life? What if you designed everything down to a T? What if you spent many lifetimes before this being a woman, and in this life you are a man? After spending many lives as a woman, you are probably going to identify with that part of yourself a lot since you spent a lot of time in the physical as a woman. There's a memory buried deep inside of yourself, and this part of you that is experiencing these feelings is a memory of something that is familiar to you, and in this current life of yours, you don't know how to deal with this new self. It's understandable why you would lean more towards the opposite. The same thing can be applied to women. What if you spent many lifetimes as a male, and in this lifetime, you wanted to be a woman? You might start to identify heavily with this male energy as well. All of the same qualities may also find you. There is a memory buried deep inside of yourself, and this part of you that is experiencing these feelings is a memory of something that is familiar to you, and in this current life of yours, you don't know how to deal with this new self. It is understandable why you would lean more towards the opposite. Why would you spend many lifetimes as a woman and then be a man? Or why would you spend many lifetimes as a man and then be a woman? Life is a balance, and all things at one point or another will be balanced. One life you may be the perpetrator, the next you might want to balance that experience by being a victim. You may also want to be the rescuer as well. At some point you may want to unify all of yourself. All of this that humanity seems to be facing with regard to identity is really about a spiritual identity. Humanity is trying to figure out who and what it is. To get there, we start from all angles. One of the angles right now isn't really about male or female or even gender, though I believe all of these movements are tapping into something but aren't quite sure what they are trying to tap into. When we say things like there are no genders or there is no male and female, what people are actually trying to express is the energy of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, masculine energy and feminine energy. Masculine isn't a man thing and feminine isn't a woman thing. These are the energies that don't have a gender or aren't gender specific. They are just that, energies that all of us possess. The masculine energy is the part of us that is doing, the ego. The feminine energy is the part of us that is being, feeling, intuition, the emotional, etc., the spirit, or at least that which is in touch with spirit. The two energies balance each other out perfectly. You can't live life as you know it without these two energies. Being masculine isn't about being a man, male, and being feminine isn't about being a woman, female. Every male has a feminine and every female has a masculine. Your masculinity is the part of you that is getting things done, the part that is thinking, putting things in order, control. Your feminine is the part of you that is feeling how it feels while you are doing what you are doing. It is the part of you that is in touch with your soul's purpose. It is the part you want to get more in touch with when you are searching for your purpose. It will make itself known by a feeling when you are thinking about doing something or are about to do something. It'll let you know what you are about to do either feels right or it feels wrong. You can either listen or ignore. You can for sure become unbalanced and be over masculine and over feminine. Over masculinity looks like someone who is in control of all aspects of their life and even attempt to be in control of others. So much so that it can become abusive and manipulative. When things don't go their way, then the world is ending, or at least they make sure others' worlds end first. They often ignore their feelings. They don't engage their feminine. Over femininity, if that's a word, looks like someone who allows others to walk all over them in their life. They don't do anything about it. They don't engage their masculine side to stand up for themselves. When in these moments of being abused by another, masculine is meant to stand up for the feminine. It sees the pain the whole is in, and it does something about it. When someone doesn't stand up for themselves, they allow themselves to be bullied, manipulated, used, abused in all sorts of ways. Over masculine can also look like someone that doesn't listen to their innermost dreams and just goes about life as it comes at them, and they ignore their innermost dreams, even if it's painful to them that they aren't following their dreams, or they don't believe that they are possible, and their dreams will stay that, just dreams. Over femininity can also look like someone that is only a dreamer. They sit around and just dream and wait and hope for things to happen, and they don't do anything about it and don't put in any work to make things happen, to help bring those dreams into reality. They just dream and hope, but without doing any of the work, their dreams will stay that, just dreams. Over masculine can look like someone who is deeply hurt but ignore the way they feel, or they hold on to that one feeling, often being some form of anger, and then that anger can turn into rage, and they will act from that space, often abusing others, controlling others, and manipulating others, oftentimes becoming the perpetrator. Over femininity can look like someone who gets deeply hurt by another and doesn't do anything about it. They often don't want to let go of that pain, so they hold on to it, and often that pain turns into some form of sadness, and they will act from that space if they even do anything about it at all, allowing others to always abuse them, control them, and manipulate them, oftentimes becoming a victim. But these are two sides of the same coin. In order to be a perpetrator, there needs to be a victim, and in order to be a victim, there needs to be a perpetrator. The world is full of them. For most of our recorded and modern history, the world as a whole has been mainly masculine. All sorts of power structures all over the place. It's even said that men rule the world. So much over masculine that the world has never been short of some form of war, whether it be an actual war out on a battlefield or even silent wars like between families, businesses, companies, things of that nature. There are both male and females in these positions, but we can admit that it is predominantly male, but each side displaying complete masculine traits, control and power. For many years, women had no say in anything. The population shut out feelings because there was no time for that. You had only to think about yours and your family's survival, how you're going to get that dream home and dream family and dream job, things of that nature. No place for feelings, especially within the males. That's only a woman thing. But the women better not let those feelings show too much, or at the very least, it better not interfere with the work of man. Women couldn't do anything other than stay home and take care of the home. Men can't feel their emotions, so they suppress them because they had to go out and do things. There is a natural way of life in these behaviors, but they are shutting out the other because they think this is the way to survive. Long ago, it still was true that the men were the ones that went out to hunt for food, supplies, things for the home. They did this because the male is naturally stronger than a female. The female did stay and look after the home, but the females also did other things too. Being that they were so closely in tune with spirit and the spirit of things, they were able to make medicine out of the things men brought home. They made clothing out of the catch. They processed and preserved the food as well. They just knew how to do these things. Men were able to do these things as well, but the females did it with better care and love. Men were also capable Men were also able to show and express their feelings, but they could express them when they needed to be expressed and then let them pass and let go, so that way nothing is festered and had the potential of becoming destructive. If you look at history, it hasn't been like this in a long time. The men and masculine ruled. The women and feminine stayed quiet. All of life is balance. Things will be balanced one way or the other. If you look at the world, plenty of women have faced a lot of use and abuse tendencies from men. Men, and not only men, but the world as a whole, becomes accustomed to the masculine power that they overlooked everything else. And the world became drunk on this power of the masculine, and people did what they wanted. People in power did whatever they wanted to those weaker than them. Women allowed this for so long and never said anything to men, never said anything that men, sorry, women allowed this for so long and never said anything that men thought they can get away with it forever. Not only women, but the world allowed this for so long and never said anything that men thought they could get away with it forever. The women didn't stand in their masculine, and the men ignored their feminine, both sides ignoring the other side of themselves. All things come to a balance. Things will never remain the same. The scales start tipping. You get movements like the Me Too movement, where women started standing up for themselves. They started utilizing their masculine energy, not realizing this was the energy they were utilizing. Men had the chance to look at their behaviors and look at their feelings and decide whether or not they should continue in this way. They started utilizing their feminine energy, not realizing this was the energy they were utilizing. You get women going within and standing up for themselves, and get men looking within at themselves. Humanity started doing something about the way it feels, about how things have been going. They decided that what was or has been happening cannot go any longer. We don't like the way this feels, so now it's time to do something. Humanity is now tapping into their feelings and emotions, which is exactly why you can look into the world and it seems like many people's feelings get hurt so easily, or when you say something and people feel like you are talking directly to them. You get things like the woke movement and the cancel culture. All calls for accountability in one's actions and accept consequence. All great things in the beginning. The part where things can go awry is thinking people can't make any sort of mistake and they can't come back from it. Yes, there are times when you don't know that you are hurting someone, and because you aren't told anything, you think you're in the clear and continue to hurt without knowing. Then there is Then is knowing that what you are doing is wrong, but because you have power and control, it doesn't matter because you can get away with it. There is a line between holding someone accountable to their past actions and using their past actions against them to hold back any attempt to move forward. Judgment. The only people who should get any real say are those that are affected in any given situation where things are at play. The only people who should be holding someone accountable are those that are within the circle of the one needing to be held accountable. Of course, the world isn't like this, not currently. You can say something or do something that may strike someone in their feelings hard, that can change everything for you. The difference is knowing you are going to hurt someone or are trying to hurt someone, but then disguise it as you weren't trying to do any of that, or pretending like you didn't know that what you were going to say could potentially cause harm. Then there is having no intention of harming someone, but speaking freely, but someone might have some unresolved trauma within themselves, and something you say might press on that. And from there, they don't like the way it feels, so they do something about it. They don't keep it personal or at the directed person. They make the whole world know of their pain. And because many people also have unresolved trauma within themselves, they can identify with this person. Now everyone is out to get that other person. This has been happening a lot more over the past few years because humanity as a whole decided to wake up and not allow certain power structures as much control anymore. And they decided that the world they are living in isn't what they envision or want to experience. They see pain, and from there, suppressed pain comes boiling to the surface. Because the vast majority of humanity is feeling this, the feelings become extreme and amplified. Because humanity wants to change, you have no choice but to heal what is damaged if you want any real change. When you desire this sort of change, and when healing starts to occur, you signal to your most inner self that you want to heal these energies within yourself. In order to heal these energies, you have to know they are there. They will make themselves known. In order to heal these unknown or forgotten energies, you have to experience or re-experience what is there. This is why you hear things like, the world has gotten so sensitive, let's go back to when everyone wasn't so sensitive. It is a calling to healing everything that was suppressed and thrown into the shadows. Now humanity has a vast majority of suppressed emotions and feelings that everyone has to deal with. The extreme measures that people go to make their feelings heard is also a result of not doing anything about this suppression, so it's like an overcompensation without realizing it. We are all engaged, a masculine act, in a healing process, and you are feeling what is there, the feminine, and you engage your feminine by nurturing and sitting with these unhealed energies. Both sides are being expressed. The balance will come in time. I believe all of this is just a part of our evolution, and we are collectively answering the question of who we are and where we want to go as a species. And that end quote, that's what I wrote.
Just so you guys know, I didn't hear that beforehand. I didn't read that. I didn't even know what he wrote. So that's actually my first time hearing that, just so you guys know. I had no idea what he was going to say. And obviously, I mean, I believe everything that he said. You know, from beginning to end.
Yeah. You can still, we don't have to.
So yeah, I mean, what do you want to add to that?
I don't really have anything much more to add to specifically what I said. I don't know if there's anything while I was talking, if anything kind of was a light bulb moment for you.
No, I mean, it's everything you said. Like I said, it's just everything that I believe in.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's not really for me. Obviously, I think you and I already kind of know and we understand, and we're already on the same page on pretty much almost everything.
Yeah.
You know, I just listened.
I suppose the real conversation, like if you guys are at home and you're listening to this, if there's something if there's anything that either of us said that maybe you want us to, maybe you maybe you want to add to that. Maybe there's something that you're not quite understanding, and not to say that we like everything that I just wrote is gospel, because it definitely isn't gospel. It's just kind of my interpretation, kind of it's my perspective. It's how I see the world, or at least it's how I interpret what I think is going on. You
Yeah.
know, I could be totally wrong, um, but you know,
Uh, I think a good place to start is to kind of find out where where you kind of started to, not you specifically, but like, where people kind of they started to become confused about their identities and stuff. A lot of times it starts out with the parents. Like a lot of parents, they step in and they're, like, you could all be watching a movie together. You could be watching a movie with your kids, and then there will be an intimate scene on the movie that happens, and then a lot of times the parents will say, hey, you cover up your eyes and you look the other way, or another good examples, like whenever a little kid, they just get curious about themselves, and they kind of they touch themselves down there, and they just become curious about what their genitalia is and stuff, and that's a natural part of it's a natural part of growing up and understanding who and what you are. Because if you're denied that, which a lot of parents do, they turn around and they say, hey, cover your eyes, don't watch this. Well, how are you going to expect them to understand what it is whenever those feelings arise, whenever puberty comes, or when they hit a certain age? They're going to become confused about what it is. Or if you're telling them to always deny, to look away from a sexual act, or you tell them to never fondle or touch themselves or anything, and then you chastise and then you demonize them for these actions, and then you tell them that it's bad to see those types of things. Well, they grow up with all these feelings and they don't know how to express themselves, and they have no understanding of it. And then puberty comes for a lot of boys, and they go through this major change. I don't know about you, but I felt it when I went through puberty. Like, I felt the weird energies that were going through me at the time. And luckily, I was able to express it in a way that gave me a better understanding of which path I wanted to choose. But I understand every man, every man has gone through this. Every female has gone through this, and a lot of times they don't get to necessarily express how they feel about their sexuality and stuff, and they're told to deny their sexuality. They're told to cover up, and they're told to never show their body to anyone. And then you get people, they just become confused about their gender, and then they deny certain parts of themselves, and then they grow up and they get older, and then they wonder, well, who am I? Like, what am I? Who am I? And then they don't really know who to blame. Obviously, it's not a blame game. You don't want to sit there and point the fingers and say, hey, it's the previous generation that told us to deny who we are. Well, you got the older generation saying, these kids, they're just crazy. They don't know who or what they are. Well, they play a major role in this too, because they play a part in parenting us, and they say, I don't know why they're on the streets and why they're protesting and why they're saying this stuff. Well, you had a part in it. Mm-hmm. Whether you accept that or not, you played a part in it by telling your offspring to look away from the TV, or to not commit certain sexual acts and stuff, or you get curious about what the functions of your genitalia are, or what it does, or what all of it means. And then you get people on the streets protesting, and they say, stop protesting. And then obviously, like, people do. The thing about protests too is they're really tricky, because protests can go one of two ways. It can be a peaceful protest, or it won't be a peaceful protest. And a lot of times people, they start out with good intentions, but they get to a certain point where they don't know how to act out this energy. So it's not just like, you're not talking to that person, the purest form of that person. You're talking to a confused person a lot of the times. It's just because, again, you have all this sexual repression, you're just suppression, and you have all these things pushed down, way down under, from not just from when you were a teenager, but from when you were a child. Because I know a lot of kids in America, you're you're not necessarily able to express that part of yourself, you know. And I just think that's where a lot of confusion and a lot of our problems arise from is just we just don't know who we are because we're not taught who or what we are. We're not necessarily like we do have sex ed in schools and stuff like that, but nowadays it seems like it's at a point where where like you have to censor out everything. Like you can't necessarily like just it seems like you can't do certain things or say certain things without getting in trouble in this day and age. Like
Yeah,
it's
you
not
have
like
to.
it was when we were younger.
Yeah, you have to give. They have to. You can't call the male genitalia. At least I don't know if it's still like this, but for a long time, you definitely couldn't. You can't call the male genitalia what it is, penis. You have to use code words like wee wee and stuff like that. And if you can't even call something what it actually is, how do you expect anyone to have any way to relate to what's actually natural to them? Uh, and it's not only these generations. I mean, even before, even our for generations for forever, even they don't even know what the heck is actually going on either. Even they don't know who they are. They're just passing on information that they've learned too. No one's really thought to really dive deep into that, into like, well, why are things the way they are? Let's you know Everyone's just going to accept that this is what it is. No one's really going to question anything. I suppose that's kind of where you get things like that's where you get like the rebellious stage in life. You want to go out and experience. You want to experience life for yourself. You want to experience it away from the pack. You want to. You're trying to find what your identity is away from home. And like then when you were talking about like, uh, you know, kids, they're taught pretty early on that it's not okay for them to do what is natural to them. And they're told, hey, no, don't do that. Like oftentimes they get in trouble. And when they by the time they get old enough that it's already too late at that point, because there's a damage, there's a bruise that's within themselves. Whenever they do become older, they start wanting to explore themselves even more, they have all this shame and this guilt around it. They have it all built because they remember when they were younger, they were told, don't do that. That's not what you're supposed to do. That you don't even go there, things like that. So there's all sorts of confusion of like there's confusion about what comes natural to you, what feels natural. And yeah, you get all sorts of repressed repression, whatever the right word is for that. And then from there, a lot of people they do acts from that place, because they're trying to tap into this suppression, and because it's suppressed for so long that it's boiling to the point, and they go out and then they do you know they can do some pretty horrible things to somebody that and then that person experience they become the victim of that circumstance.
Yeah, like a mental instability and stuff over time.
Mm-hmm.
That's where a lot of again, I mean, this is it's a touchy thing too, because it happens, but whenever you start to take that path, you become confused about your identity, and a lot of things are born out of that pure anger and rage. And the kids, they act on rageful manners. They might, it happens. We've seen it in America way too much and way too often. But school shootings,
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing that's born out of confusion about your identity. I'll just say it's
Mm-hmm.
essentially just your identity, who you are, what it is, what you want to call yourself.
Yeah, oftentimes they say like, oh, nobody understands me. But in reality, that still may be true, but they also don't understand them. They're not fully understanding themselves either. They're not well, they're not able to look deep within themselves, because like I said, they were probably at one point or another, maybe they were told at a very young age to not do certain things, um, to not even look within themselves for anything. Like, you got to constantly look to the outside world for your validation. You got to you got to make sure you make your parents proud. You got to make sure you make your friends proud. You got to live up to all sorts of expectations that are in the world. Within the world, you have to live up to all these things. You see movies, you see magazines, you see all these things. You see nothing but expectation after expectation after expectation. And yeah, I mean, no one may be telling you that this is what you should be, but it's the impression that is given, that is purposely giving to people, to for people to strive for these types of things. And if just call it what it is. If you're not a good looking person, you're not gonna get the same type of treatment as somebody who is a handsome person, or who happens to look good. It's just it's just the world that we live in. That's just how it is. Even if you are equipped for the job, you're most likely not going to get whatever that is done. And you see this rejection after rejection after rejection. And yeah, oftentimes people go to those very dark corners within their mind. They go into those dark corners within their psyche, and they give into that shadow. And from there, your shadow self, it just kind of takes over. And people do, and then that's where people do horrible things from that place. Yeah, they commit some very very horrible acts. And and it causes a bunch of people pain, of course, in the process.
It usually starts with we'll end up going kind of in a circle here every now and then, but it starts at the young age, and it starts whenever you tell your kid not to, you don't cry. That's a girly thing to do. Mm-hmm. Men don't cry, or don't be playing with, you're a boy, don't be playing with dolls and stuff like that. And then you take their innocence and you shatter it whenever you take that away from them. And then over time, they become confused about those things, and they think like, no, I'm not. Why am I so fascinated with makeup? Like, I feel like I'm not supposed to like that, because my dad and my mom and dad told me not to like that stuff, and that's not what I'm supposed to do. I'm not supposed to be into those types of things. And then they create this strong this polar opposite energy, and then they have this energy that tells them one thing, and then they have this other energy that's created, and it's clashing with their morals and their beliefs, and they just don't know. And kids, no matter what, you cannot leave a child to decide with adult-like decisions. You have to be experienced in life, and you have to be a certain age to understand when you can let a child choose for themselves. So if they don't understand the world, if you don't understand the world, how do you expect to get your child to understand the world? Mm-hmm. All you do is you take their innocence away from them when you tell them these certain things, and you tell them not to act out in certain ways. It's just better just to let the child act out in certain ways at a young age, and just let them be. Let them self-develop, and let them choose what they want to choose. Let them be, and don't try to create them what you want them to be. Don't take them and say, this is going to be my test subject, and I'm going to try to make a man out of him. This is my daughter, and I'm going to try to make this out of her. Like, don't try to shape that person. Don't try to be in control of those types of situations, because you can ultimately damage your child over time.
Yeah, there's only like, of course, there's times like where you obviously have to make a decision for your child. Like, if they're running, I don't know, near the edge of something, and they're running onto the road, and they don't realize that a car is coming. Like, of course you're gonna step in, and you're gonna make that choice to go, for that child, and you're probably gonna yell at them, tell them, hey, don't be running out on the road. Those types of things, that type of stuff is obviously different. But what it is talking about is definitely is a definitely it's a whole different thing, too. Um, and then I was thinking about something you said when it comes to like telling a boy, little boys, like not to, don't play with dolls, don't do this or that. And then you can kind of say the same thing for like girls too. Like they're told to only probably just, just play with dolls, only do this. Don't let them kind of figure things out for themselves. Like let your brother help you out. Let your brother do it for you, or let me do it for you.
Yeah.
They just, and then here that kind of teaches them to become really dependent on that teaches them a dependency to to depend on basically men their entire life too. That's another unhealthy thing that it's a potentially unhealthy thing, I should say.
Yeah. And just think it's been going on for probably obviously longer than we can, than we can probably conceive. It's just always been, I'm sure at some point in time, whenever you come more into contact with more like people that were more self-sufficient, like people before a certain type of democracy or a certain type of government.
Well, I suppose even just in like when you look at Native American culture before colonization, before all that stuff. Well, even yeah, it's honestly probably not even too long ago either. Like a lot of everyone just kind of naturally knew what to do. There was no like all the elderly women, they knew exactly what to do when it came to when it came time for, when a young girl had their first bleeding, they knew what to everyone knew what to do. You bring them to the elders, to the grandmother, and now the grandmother can teach them what it is to be a woman, what it means to be a woman. And then the young men, when they reach a certain point, they're brought out into the land to know what it is to be in harmony with that land, and also to know we're also the caretakers of this land too. And they're from there, they're brought into their vision quest to figure out what it is they should be doing, what it is they need to be doing with their life. And then when it comes to living within a tribe, everyone just kind of knows what to do. You don't have to no one has to question their roles. They just know. And there wasn't a whole lot of all these there was no confusion about who you were, or who the tribe was, or who the community was. Everyone just knew.
Yeah, what your destiny or what your fate was. You just know. I mean, that's what happens when you have a sense of your identity and you're not denied your identity.
Mm-hmm.
I think you evolve at a different rate.
Yeah, and when you're living out in nature too, that really helps too, because nature is your reminder of your nature.
Yeah, yeah.
Nature reminds you of your nature, and when you become one with that, or at least try to do your best to live within the harmony of that life force, it really doesn't. There's not a whole lot of room for all this confusion, all this hatred, or anything like that. There isn't a whole lot of room for that. It just doesn't. It doesn't happen as often.
Yeah, I mean, nature just has like just a mysterious way of keeping you in like a certain balance. Like when we were staying at Bear Butte, like waking up and walking out onto the grass every morning with just bare feet, just kind of grounding and staring up at the mountains, staring up at the sun. You just felt like a balance within you,
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I don't know, man. It's just being out in nature is just a whole different story compared to being in modern day living.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody has access to nature, but if you don't have access to nature, I highly recommend you take a road trip sometime to.
Especially you guys living in a big city like New York City or something, go out, go out beyond that, because it kind of is. It's, now that I'm thinking about it, as I'm talking right now, it is kind of crazy how people that are born in like New York City literally don't leave New York City.
Yeah.
They just stay in that that motherboard looking thing. They might never ever venture be outside of that area, because New York City probably has everything you need, so why venture out? But it doesn't have a whole lot of nature. Central Park isn't all. I've never been to Central Park, but Central Park doesn't. I guarantee you that doesn't compare to Black Hills, South Dakota.
Yeah.
Guarantee it doesn't even compare to Bear Butte.
Yeah, when you go to, you guys, when you go to places like the Black Hills, Bear Butte, Yosemite, Turtle Mountains, you go anywhere to these places, you feel the conduit, like it's almost like a certain like electrical type of feeling. You can feel it. You can feel the energy in the air shift compared to being in a city. When you go from city living, and then if you just went straight to nature, you're gonna feel the major subtle difference, because not even subtle difference. Different in every way in terms of, uh, it's almost in a way it's like sensory deprivation.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you go in nature compared to a city, you're constantly being stimulated in city life. You're constantly everybody's reacting to something. Everybody's constantly they see something and they're reacting, and everybody's all reacting with each other. It's all reactions.
It's almost like a constant. It's almost like you're in constant like fight or flight mode.
Yeah, and it's a constant energetic exchange, and people, they're constantly giving bits and parts of themselves. They're exchanging energy, they're exchanging words, and they're exchanging handshakes, and they're exchanging information all the time. And they give, and then over time they just kind of forget who they are. And then some days, you do get those people that wake up and they look in the mirror and they think like, what am I doing? Like, who am I? Like, what am I doing with my life right now?
Mm-hmm.
I know there kind of came a point where we were like, what are we doing? Like, what are we looking for? Like, who are we? What do we want to be? Because I know that, and we're kind of going a little off of the original subject here, but it's just better just to,
It when you think about it, kind of not really. Like it's a different portion of the same topic, because what we're really talking about is the struggle of identity and the confusions around identity. When you're saying, like, you look in the mirror and you say, who am I? It's still under the same topic of identity.
yeah, what I'm trying to say is reconnect with your true self. Take time away from work. And I know there's always going to be people that say, well, I can't take time away from work. Well, if this job requires you to be there 24/7 and never gives you time for yourself, run away. It's best just to leave those types of jobs. There's going to be workplaces where they tell you, you're replaceable. I know, because I've been in that same situation. They're going to say, you're replaceable, or, this staff is replaceable. Well, then I don't have to give you 2 weeks notice if you tell me that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just leave. I'll leave whenever I feel like it. I come and go as I please. That's kind of the mentality you kind of have to be in. And I'm not saying go about that in a negative manner, like come in and cause reckoning and stuff like that. Go about it in a decent, humane matter. But
yeah, engage in your look into yourself. Engage your feminine. Your feminine will lead you in the right way. It'll lead your masculine power in the right direction.
Yeah. Do with a purpose and feel with a purpose. Always feel. If you're in a time where, if you're watching a movie, man, I'm telling you, and there's like a scene, and for you people that do cry during movies, man, I feel you, because there's a lot of powerful scenes that take place in movies, and if you feel that that cry come, and just feel it out and let it out, because that's a part of you trying to express itself. And same with acting and doing, or like just acting out your actions and doing. There's a lot of times where you want to do something, but you just don't do it out of fear, because you think like, I don't know if I should do that, or I don't know if I have the strength to do that. I don't know if I have the courage to do that.
Or you're thinking of what somebody else might think of you if they see you doing something, or you might have like a mental, you might have like a picture in your mind of what someone might be thinking. They may not even think what you have in your mind, but there's a part of your in your mind where you think that someone might be judging you in a certain way, so you might hold yourself back because of those, it's all made up. A lot of it is made up.
Yeah, like you kind of have like negative preconceived notions about what somebody's potentially going to think of you, or like, I need to do this because I'm going to go do this and this and this, and I need to do this. I need to do it this way, otherwise I'm going to get judged.
Yeah, and if you do feel that way, and if you do struggle with that, of course, it's not like it is a normal thing. It is natural. It's gonna happen. Don't beat yourself up because you can't get past that, or you can't get past of the thought of like what you think someone is gonna think of you. Like that's a part of your evolution. Everyone goes through that one way or another. um don't be too hard on yourself. Just your evolution is your evolution, and it goes at your pace, your personal evolution.
Yeah, just
you know
don't feel guilty, like don't feel like a sense of like urgency, like
the expectation thing,
yeah,
like
just don't feel like you have to absolutely do something right now in this moment in time, because it takes time. It's not like some evolution. It takes linear time. It's not something that can just happen overnight. Like your life will not change just like that, but you are changing constantly. But it takes time to go in the direction that you really want to go in.
mm-hmm.
I just think, I think personally, we as a collective need to start reclaiming our identities. We need to start looking within.
Yeah, and that comes into and in order to do that, you have to you have to also understand you have to understand more about about life. And like we just talked, like what we were talking about earlier, like a lot of people do think that the word masculine is only a men thing, or it's mainly a men thing. And obviously, because men act out more masculine ways the majority of the time, it's understandable why people assume masculine energy with male. And of course, and then with the feminine energy being only female, when, like I said, that none of that's not the way it is. That's the thing that doesn't have any sort of gender. That's not male. Like I said earlier, masculine isn't male or female, and feminine energy isn't male or female either. It's a part of us. It's an energy that makes up who we are. They're both energies, and they make up the whole of who we are. And
It's
yeah,
basically like we said earlier. It's the yin and the yang. It's
like the ego it's almost like the ego in the spirit. That's like that. You're doing and you're being. That's
the ego. The ego is what does. It's the anchor that holds you in this world, basically.
yeah.
And the spirit is just the metaphysical aspect of anything. I think I'm gonna. I'll almost every episode I'll touch down on it. We're missing a key component in our daily lives, and it's the metaphysical. It's the spiritual aspect.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing. Yeah, that's the huge thing too. In identity, people are missing that part in life. It's their spiritual identity, their true identity, who they really are, and that is an infinite. It's an eternal being that doesn't die. Your physical body dies for sure, but the you there's a you that will continue on forever in all of eternity. You will still continue. It's an infinite, eternal creator being. It's also comes with our relationship to God, the creator, whatever you want to call it, the universe. I prefer the word the creator, or the Ojibwe word for it, Ojibwe, Chippewa, Anishinaabe, Kichimani too. Those are the words I prefer. But in all reality, they point to the same thing. Our relationship to the creator is, we have to mend that relationship. And also, in order of mending that, you gotta, it's hard understanding it, but you at least gotta kind of understand more so what the creator even is. And it's literally in layman's term, and it's still hard to even conceive or think about it, but it's literally everything, everything, all the things you can think of. Your imagination is the energy of the creator. It's the source of creation. like this microphone right here, like somebody thought of that in their imagination, the idea of a microphone, and and yes, they used their creative power and they brought it into existence and they brought it into the physical form. It's still a part, it's still, and it came from the spirit. Everything that you can possibly think of comes from that area. It comes from the energy of your imagination. The house we're in right now, the chairs we're sitting in, all these things in their most minuscule form are also spirit too. They have a spirit form as well. And nothing stays the same. Everything is constantly changing. You know, you can set this microphone down, and of course it's going to take a very, 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 very long time, but at some point it might just crumble into something else. It might take hundreds and thousands of years of sitting in one spot, but at some point it's going to transform into something else, or something might come along and maybe maybe something helps speeds up the process, and maybe this house, uh, maybe something happens, like in terms of maybe a bunch of buffalo happen to just run through the house, and they run wherever this is, and then here they stomp this thing into literally little bits and pieces, and it turns into dust or something. That's just it's still transforming into something else. You know, that's a part of life, and we're a part of that life. If you we're not always going to be the same. We're not always you're not the same person you were when you woke up this morning. You're literally a different person in every single moment. If you believe in reincarnation, well, clearly this isn't your only life. You have many lives before this, and you're probably going to live many lives in not just Earth, but maybe in another planet, maybe somewhere else, maybe in a whole different universe, or maybe as something completely different. Maybe you won't even want to be a human being. Maybe you'll want to be a spirit. If you believe in spirit guides, well, maybe you'll want to be a spirit guide for a spirit friend of yours that wants to take on physical life. That a spirit that hasn't lived in physical life. Maybe you have the experience of physical life. Maybe you'll be a spirit guide for that person. You know, obviously the possibilities are literally infinite and endless, but essentially what I'm saying is, we have to amend our relationship with who we actually are, and that place to start is is your spiritual identity of who you are, and your relationship with the Creator, and that is the main thing that almost a lot of people are just missing.
Yeah, you're just not you're not just a human being with a mind and a body. You're a three in one being, and the soul envelopes the body, and the soul is the ultimate chooser. It pretty much it knows what needs to be done at the end of the day. The soul knows the ultimate reality of anything.
Yeah, and
you may not understand that. We may not understand that for a long time, but the soul knows what's I guess you can say, not, I wouldn't say what's right from wrong, but it knows what, at the end of the day, what needs to get done.
Yeah, and there's a point, obviously, and you know, a lot of it is on purpose. You know, we forget these things for a greater purpose. You know, we forget that part of ourselves, because there's a lot of great healing, and a lot of that can be had from that place of that forgetfulness state that we're all in. We're all in this amnesia state, but we're busy waking up from it. We're all trying to remember that part of ourselves, and but there's a part of you that never forgot that, and that's the part of you that has always been connected to the Creator, and the path to that, path to that. I'm gonna always say it. It's when you start listening to your heart, listen to your intuition, your heart, and because that's your doorway. That's your doorway to the oneness, to that place within yourself that is connected to everything and everyone, to literally everything. Um, yeah, when he said mind, body, soul, we're not just a mind, body. We're a soul. And the fun little thing too, that I wanted to say is, a lot of people think the soul is inside the body, like you're this physical body, and there's a soul inside of you that comes out. But in reality, the body is inside the soul. Literally, your soul is there's an invisible space between him and I that is there, but there's a force that is ever present, and it's between me and this microphone. It's between me and the camera, between us and the wall that we're in. Literally, all the space that you can see. There's an invisible force that is connecting all of us. And you've heard of auras before, and sometimes you can even see there are people who have abilities to be able to see other people's auras. But who's to say where my aura ends and his begins? It's still, we're connected in that way too. We're basically all one giant aura, and there's an invisible force that is holding together the physical reality. And
Well,
yeah.
and that invisible force is it has, how do I just say this? It's got strings shooting out in every single direction, in every single possible way and direction, and it's connected to everything. And it has a direct connection with the sun, a direct connection with the stars, a direct connection with the very center of the earth, connection with everything that exists. It has a connection to it, and that's why he said that, like, we're so much bigger than what we understand. You're not just a human being. In plain words, you're just not you're not ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just put it like that. You're not just an ordinary human being. What we're trying to do is give you a sense of empowerment and a sense of we want you to wake up that spiritual compartment of yourself that's been sleeping for a long time.
And yeah, and then I don't mean to interrupt, but if you have more to say. And yeah, and what I believe our role of humanity, like as a species, because we're, like I said, we're not just human beings, but for of course we're all living human lives. So that's what we have to be focusing on. We have to be focusing on our human lives, on our human selves. But when you look at our relationship to the world and to nature and to all, and I'm just going to say this one quick little thing. Because we have the natural ability to be able to think and make a choice. Animals don't. They don't have that. They're based off of pure instinct. They're literally an if this then that type of mentality. Like, if I'm hungry, then this happens. If this thing comes and does this, then this happens. It's like that. But we have the ability to be able to think and make a choice. So human beings are, what I believe our true purpose is we're meant to be the most highly evolved beings on the planet. We're meant to be, because that ability is it's awake inside of us. And of course, to become the most highly evolved beings on the planet, we kind of have to go through a very dumb period. We have to make a ton of mistakes in order to finally get it right. And yeah, we're meant to take care of the land we walk on, take care of Mother Earth. And I believe that's our role. We're the stewards of taking care of this land. And yeah, we're meant to be the most highly evolved animals on this planet. And of course, we're not there, but it's going to take a time. That's the story. This is the story of humanity unfolding. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. I wanted to, in order to understand our identity, of course, that part of that is understanding our purpose, and that's what I believe. That's what I truly believe our purpose as a species is we're meant to be the most highly evolved animals on the planet, so that we can take care of the planet. But we need nature, and we need the the packs that nature provides. How everything is in a pact. Uh, how how every part, every animal or that's in a pack, they all look after one another. They look after the clan. They the way they travel as like a pack, as one. It's a reminder of us to do the same. But of course, we have the ability to think and make a choice. That means we have the ability to interpret what we're seeing, and everybody's different. Everyone has their own unique perspective and their own unique view of life. It's going to look different for a lot of people, and with that difference, a lot of differences do occur. And conflict is just a natural it's a natural um, consequence of life. And yeah, that's kind of really all I have to say on that. um, make better choices, people. Listen to your heart, listen to your spirit. Get in touch with your spirit. Listen to your heart. You'll never be led astray. But I will say, listening to your heart doesn't always lead you to happy experiences. Just because you listen to your heart, it doesn't mean you're gonna live. It doesn't always mean you're gonna be led to the best possible um, experiences. Sometimes you might be let down, because do hear people. I listened to my heart and I just got hurt. That was meant to happen. Your heart leads you to the experiences you're meant to have. It's your soul knows, your spirit knows, your spirit wants to experience certain experiences in life. Your soul informs the heart. And if you're listening to your heart will inform you of where you need to go. And yeah, sometimes you will be led to painful experiences, and it's all meant to happen. No, you know. So don't think if you start listening to your heart, then next thing you know, out of nowhere, you start feeling a bunch of pain. Don't think something is wrong, or that you're being led astray, or that you're being led off your path. Whatever is happening is meant to happen. And and a one more part I want to say, now that I'm thinking about it, is when you want to heal something within yourself, it's basically it's like the old saying, one door closes and another opens. It almost feels like an endless journey, like you're constantly healing something. When you make that choice that you want to start healing yourself, you signal that part of yourself that you're ready to feel what's there. And sometimes that does mean it is like a recurring thing. It feels like it keeps on happening, or like you keep on needing to heal. You heal one thing, you feel good, and then next thing you know, something else happens, or like another feeling comes up and you got to heal that. And that's all part of the journey. That's all part of the healing process. You're picking up all those pieces throughout your entire journey as a spiritual being, living all these different lives, living all these different perspectives, living all these different points of views. You leave parts of yourself in all these other places, and you're slowly picking those pieces back up, and you're integrating them within yourself. And it's not an easy process. It's definitely can be painful. But it's all part of the process, and everything is okay. Your soul knows this. Your soul understands this. Be in touch with your soul. Take time for yourself to be silent. Go within yourself. Go into that inner part of yourself and be with the Creator. And the Creator knows you and sees you.
Right.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Just I don't really have much to add on to that. We got what we kind of wanted off our chest. Well, like we said, what we wanted to say. I will just add a couple things in there, and we're gonna be repeating this stuff as time goes on in every single one of our episodes. Pretty much, we're just gonna be sprinkling bits and parts of information and guidance through every episode. But you're always gonna hear us saying, "Be in tune, and be in touch with your heart all the time."
And it's understandable. Sometimes it's understandable. The mundane parts of life happen, and you might not always make a choice from your heart. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of existence. It's not the end of you. In the world of spirit, there is no time length on your evolution. Your spirit knows no time. Your spirit has no limits. Your spirit is not constrained by time. There's no time limit on that stuff. If you make a mistake, you can get past it, even if the world says you can't, or if other people are saying that you can't. You can pick back up. So don't be pressured by time, like you need to evolve now or else.
Yeah, I mean, it takes time. It's not an overnight process. Just understand that there's more. It's not just you're not living just in a three-dimensional world that just consists of just randomness, objects and inanimate objects, and life isn't just. It's just not. It's not meant to just be. It's meant to be an experience for your soul, and just remember that there's always a spiritual component that's attached to you. Always, it's always there, and it's always ready to be acknowledged. You just have to be ready to acknowledge it. And when you're ready to acknowledge it, I guess you can say just more paths will open up, and you'll see life completely different once you acknowledge the metaphysical aspect of life. And it's not just, you'll see the beauty in almost everything that happens in your daily life. You'll understand the signs more. You'll understand the universal language of what God's language could potentially be. Mm-hmm. Anyways, guys, that's all I have for tonight.
Yeah, that's all I have too.
Yeah. So we appreciate the watch, guys. We'll have a couple more episodes here, more episodes to come. Obviously, it takes time. We try our best not to just, push things out or try to rush, and we're doing our best right now to try to get an episode or two out a week here. But we, like I said, at the end of it, our emails will be in the description below. Make sure you like, subscribe. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the Facebook page. We have a TikTok page now. We'll be posting some content on there. We have an Instagram page. Make sure and check us out on there too, guys.
Yeah. Email us. You can give us the feedback, whatever it is you want to do. We'd love to hear from you, for sure.
Yeah, leave us a comment. If you're from back home, hey, I appreciate you guys. Jocko, Frank, appreciate you. Garrett, you guys, we appreciate the comments, you guys. It definitely means a lot to us.
And we appreciate you, Zoe, for commenting. Anthony, Ryder, you commented too. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for commenting. Means a lot. And thanks to everybody who put a like on our page, and everybody who is viewing our videos. We truly appreciate it.
Yep. Well, have a good night, guys. We appreciate it.